They told me not to smoke drugs, but I wouldn't listen. Never thought I'd get caught and wind up in prison. Chalk it up to youth, but young age I ain't dissing. I guess I just had to get it out of my system. Out of my system. Out of my system.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to Uncarcerated. This is the show where we talk about life during and after incarceration, real stories, real resources, and the people doing the work to change the system from the inside out. My name is Kevin Scott. Normally, you've got 3 or even sometimes 4 hosts on this show, but today it's just me because we have 2 very special guests who happen to be 2026 Represent Justice ambassadors. So before we bring them in, a little context on Represent Justice. Represent Justice is a national nonprofit built on the idea that stories can move policy. Their mission is turning personal stories into action that changes the justice system while building the capacity of system-impacted communities. So every year they run an ambassador program. Out of, I think, thousands of applicants, they pick 10 people, 10. So each ambassador will get paired with a filmmaking mentorship and real resources to turn their own story and vision into a short documentary. So these are not just vanity projects. Past ambassador films like Just Mercy, Kemba, Songs from the Hole have become the backbone of actual advocacy campaigns aimed at lawmakers and communities and not just film festival premieres. This year, for the first time in the program's history, I think, they selected 2 people from the very same community, and that community happens to be right here in Gainesville, motherfucking Florida. And both of those people are sitting with me right now. Guys, today's guests are none other than my amazing co-hosts, Leigh Scott, no relation, and Julius Irving, not the basketball player, who have both been selected as 2026 Represent Justice ambassadors. Julius's film is called The Silent Revolution. Leigh's film is called Uncarcerated. Both premiere July 23rd at the Directors Guild Theater in Los Angeles, with a Gainesville premiere September 17th at Heartwood right here in Gainesville. Let's bring them in, guys. Welcome to the show as guests.
Glad to be here as a guest.
Yo, what's up?
Great. Okay.
You're remarkably good at the intro.
You
made to do that.
Yeah, you did. Too good,
I don't fuck
bro.
around, guys.
I was thinking that was amazing.
Thank you so much. I know. Before we get too far ahead, let's just do it in chronological order before we even talk about the films. Walk me back. Julius, I'll start with you. And we'll try to be short. Obviously, we have a lot of shit to cover and 2 guests. But what made you decide to apply? How did you apply? And what was that process like, the application?
Okay, so that's a very, very interesting story, right? I was actually in the county jail doing like 45 days on a 90-day sentence. And my ED, Lindsay Coleman, reached out to me and asked me did I want to apply for a fellowship. I had no idea what it was about, but I was already in the mode of just investing in myself. Like, because although everything was taken from me because I was incarcerated, or it seemed like it was taken from me, but what was given to me was all of my time back. I had infinite amounts of time. So I was already in the practice of like working on myself. So I just jumped on the fellowship, not knowing what it was about, and just answered the question to the best of my abilities, right? Not even fully knowing what the fellowship was even about, bro. So that's pretty much how I ended up applying for the fellowship. I literally was laying on the bunk in the county jail. Lindsay mailed me the questions on a piece of paper, and I looked at the questions and I wrote the answers back to her on postcards, and she entered the questions on the computer and applied for me secondhand.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you? What was your experience like?
I was in a different kind of jail. My last job.
Damn.
Heyo.
Oh, wow. Oh. Not the sound effects. Holy fuck.
No, Lindsay at Community Spring nominated me because she knew that I grew up wanting to make movies. Like, this is what I've wanted my whole life. I had a cable access show here in Gainesville when I was like 17 and grew up with my friends making little movies, and then life happened and I ended up getting on the radio and then incarcerated and now do social work and stuff. So this was like a real full circle moment for me. And she told me about it. I looked them up and I applied, and I put a lot of like effort into the application and the video. You had to make like a little video to go with it. I had never made a video like this before. And so I went to my office and like set up the camera, and I did it all in the first take, and I sent it off. And I thought, there's no way that I'm going to get this. Like, there's thousands of people that apply for this. And then I found out later that Julius, like Lindsay had also applied for Julius. And, you know, that gave me a lot of like pause because, you know, I love him and I wanted him to get it. And I also knew his situation. I didn't know if he would get home in time to get it. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't think they would pick both of us. And so I thought, oh my God, what if they pick me and not him, or him and not me? Like, how are we going to feel about this? And so when we found out that they selected both of us, I was just like ecstatic.
Hold on, wait. Let me jump back in there real quick, right?
Yeah.
How the fellowship application process went, right? It was like rounds to it. First, you answer the like questions, right? The like 500-word response questions and all of that shit. And then after that, it was like they'll send you an email saying that you advanced to the next round. They had more shit for you. Then finally, the like video portion. I can recall like working at Community Spring and Grace Marketplace, riding a fucking bike from the southwest side of town, and being at the deadline to making the video. Like, you got to make this shit today. Never doing this shit. Finally, now I understand what the fellowship even about. And the only thing I'm looking at really is like, damn, I need that money. I need that. I'm not even looking at none of the other shit. I'm not worried about the social change and none of that stuff. I'm like, I could really use this money. You see what I'm saying? So, and everything else, all the other value will come out. But the initial value I was chasing was the financial stability.
Fair.
And then, you know, making that last video in the break room at Grace. And then, you know, it being so big, it being a 5-minute video, not knowing how to upload it where I could send it, having to upload it to YouTube just so I could send it to them, figuring all of this like technical shit out on my own, doing this shit, right? And then as far as, I never thought about it like, oh, me and Leigh applying, one of us has to lose. I never even thought about that shit. I just only thought about winning and like, could I win this shit? And then I remember when I actually found out that I had won been selected, right? I was riding the bike home at a stoplight, waiting to cross traffic. I think Akeisha called me. I was so happy. The first person I called was Lindsay, and I was kind of offended because she didn't like be fully happy with me. She just said, "Hold on, wait. That maybe means that Leigh didn't get it. Yeah. Let's think about how we're gonna tell Leigh." I was like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right, Lindsay, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
man, motherfucker,
don't steal my joy.
I'm not worried about Leigh right now. Now I'm finna call my sister. I called my sister right quick, and me and her celebrated on the phone.
Hell yeah.
And we later found out that both of us won.
Man, I remember I was driving somewhere or something, and I missed a call from Leigh, and then I saw in a group text that you were like, I got it. And I was like, oh, fuck, Leigh was calling to tell me he didn't get it. I was like, oh, he's going to be fucking bummed. And then I got a message from you saying, I got it too. I was like, holy fucking shit. So because they picked two people from the same place is unusual.
Yeah, for sure.
From Gainesville, what does that say? What do you guys think? What does that, maybe Leigh, I'll ask you first. What does that say about Gainesville and like what has been built here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've heard you say this before, and it rings true so often, and that is, if you can do it in Florida, you can do it anywhere. So if you get initiatives off the ground in a deep red state, the state that has the most immigration detentions, the hands out the longest sentences, like we lead the country in the worst shit possible. So if you can do stuff here, probably means you're doing something right. And I also think it says a lot about Community Spring, because I think having that sort of nomination from a partner that they trust and they've seen have done things like Just Income, I think adds a lot of like credibility.
Having two people win from Gainesville, right? And maybe that's the first time that it's happened. I think that suggests that, to me, what it shows is power exists wherever people exist. It's not this thing where, because it's a small town, because you never heard of them, because any of those stuff, you know what I'm saying, wherever people exist, power exists. And I also was showed that people's ideas about things doesn't mean that that's the way that it has to go just because it's probable to you. You know, because everybody thought it had to be a me or you thing. You see what I'm saying? I never once even like was like that. I never felt like, you know, I can recall me and you seeing each other at Grace and talking about it. And I never personally felt like it had to be a me or you thing. I knew both of us was great. And I just only thought about winning. I never thought about like competing in that moment. Just like, oh, I need this shit. Fair. So for me, it just highlighted, like I knew it. I knew I was fucking great. You see what I'm saying? I knew this shit. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm from Gainesville. I'm from Little Lotterville County. I'm a convicted felon. I'm tall. I got gold teeth. I got all these things that make me stand out and shit. But I fucking knew it. Yeah. I knew I was somebody, man. That's what it did for me, more than anything else. And it also showed me to like go for what I believe in, even if probabilities suggest that what I'm believing isn't maybe that probable, but go with the feeling that I believe is probable. That in spite of all of that shit, I know all of the stats, I know all of the probabilities too, but hey, I still feel like it's possible, so I'm going with that shit.
You were right.
Yeah, I was right.
Son of a bitch. Okay, so all right, so you get selected. Amazing, Leigh. Okay, tell me. So what is it? Like, what actually goes into the fellowship? Like, what is the thing itself? Can you talk about like the mentorship, the timeline, and maybe like what you learned about storytelling, filmmaking, yourself? Just kind of like the nuts and bolts of the fellowship. Like, what is it?
Yeah, so it's a year-long ambassadorship. The way that it starts, like the very first kickoff is we flew to LA last July to say hello to goodbye to the previous year's ambassadors. So you watch their films and simultaneously you're being welcomed on. So there's like that overlap. And I will say, being there in LA in July, they put us up at this really nice hotel and we're watching these other ambassadors like kick off their campaigns. They were in the moment that we are now. And I remember thinking like, this is so hard to like have these ambassadors here and have us here simultaneously. And I remember thinking like, the CEO pulled Julius and I to the side and talked to us, and it felt very honest and true. And I just remember thinking like they really did a good job of not ignoring us at that point. You're assigned like a creative producer, and you have a couple of other mentors, Denise and Akeisha, a policy person, like a creative person, a wellness person, and you check in with them throughout the whole process. You kind of tell them what your idea is, and then you craft it into a script, and that goes into some refinement processes, and then you start pulling together a crew, a director, a producer, your cast, if you have a cast, a PA, all that. For me, because I had friends that did this, that was my immediate first call when I got this. Was I called all my 4 best friends and said, anyone want to help me with this? And Jake Springfield, who grew up here in Gainesville with me, is a documentary film director in New Orleans, and he agreed to do it. And so that made the process a lot easier. He was my director of photography. And so I learned a lot from Saladin, who was my creative producer. But I will say, as far as storytelling, if you had asked me a year ago, I would not have said storytelling is like the number one most impactful thing when you're doing change making, right? Like that's, I have often thought of it, even having done a fellowship at Community Spring, I've often thought of storytelling as sort of like the soft side of activism and advocacy. And now I'm all the way the other way. A story changes more minds than meetings with policymakers, than data. Like stories really matter. Yeah. And I've seen that now in practice, and I'm hoping that our films have the same impact. But process over the year was great. I learned a ton about storytelling. I learned a ton about writing a script. I had to do a lot of like really hard things that I had never done before. I've only like maybe thought about it, but I had never written a script. I've never directed a film like this. I thought that I would have some more hands-on. I remember getting stuck a couple of times, specifically with like writing out, taking a script and then making it a shot list. Like that's very technical, and I'd never done that before. And I thought I would have some more hands-on there. But I will say, looking back, I'm actually glad that I was forced to do some hard stuff by myself, because it made me uncomfortable. And now I feel like if you were like, hey, write a script about this thing, and I could sit, I could do the research, I could write the script, I could make a shot list, I could get a crew together, like I could do it, I could replicate this. And that was my number one goal in going into this. They ask you your goals, and I was like, no one gets this for their first film. It's like hitting a lottery ticket. So 5 years from now, strip away all the support from Represent Justice. I want to do this again. How do I do it? That's my goal in this, is I want to learn how I do this without the support. And I feel like I could do that now.
Maybe a similar question, like how was it for you? And did the vision that you had going in, did that end up changing along the way just because you were learning the process of filmmaking, or did it stay the same as when you went in?
Cool. So the experience for me, right, as far as like the operations of the program, it's the exact same thing as what Leigh said. Pretty much, they flew us out to Cali. I thought they did a really, really great job with that shit. Like, that was so important that first fly out, it was the best one for me, really, because it wasn't like a lot of shit that we had to do. We was experiencing the celebration of the other people. It was just great, you know what I'm saying, to be on rooftops in Hollywood, to be in the Hollywood Hills and shit, and to see the Hollywood sign. I've only saw the Hollywood sign before that on TV and on GTA, the game of
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it was super cool for me, and yeah, all of that was fire. The question of did my idea of what the fellowship would be change as I started going through it?
The idea of your movie too.
The idea of my movie?
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as my movie went, right, I didn't really know what to make it about. I had 2 significant interactions with the I've had a lot of interactions with the correctional system throughout my lifetime, but some of the bigger ones that a lot of people knew about was my attempted murder charge and going to trial and everything and facing a life sentence. So I was stuck between doing it about that, but I chose to do it about my most recent experience with the court systems, the same one that I was locked up for when I actually applied for the fellowship.
Was that based on feedback from the process?
Nah, it was just my own personal choice. Okay. And
amazing.
They didn't step in the way of our own creative processes. It was like all us. I really wanted somebody to say, like, tell me everything to do,
sure,
be there with me every step of the way. But the same as Leigh said, right? At the end, I appreciated the fact that I didn't have more hands-on, because I could really say, I did this shit. No, I wrote that whole fucking script. No, I really wrote that motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? He gave me a little bit of advice, but didn't tell me what to say. He just told me, hey, can you expand this right here? Can you unpack this idea? Can you shorten this and maybe, and like shot list, all of these terms for stuff that I had to do that I've never done before was really, really interesting. And I thought going into the shit, right? Like, okay, I get $2,000 a month for a whole year. I get flown out to California 3, maybe 4 times a year, maybe have like a 5-hour a month commitment for all of this. I'm like, okay, I can do that. This shit easy as fuck. What about this could stress me out? They would tell me about the mental health help and all of this stuff, the wellness coach. I'm like, I'll never need you. This shit's too easy. You see what I'm saying? But going into it, this situation produced so much fucking stress inside of me, man. I hadn't dealt with any kind of deep-rooted fear in a long time. And when I started experiencing it, right, I refused to be conscious to that fear at first. I just tried to suppress it, ignore it, and do anything else. And once I suppressed it inside of my inner being, right, it started producing, it started growing. It took root and started growing and affecting everything else that I was doing. And it created this opportunity to really see myself and see that there's still things out here that could, positive things, you see what I'm saying? Positive situations that could produce such a fear inside of me and have a negative effect if I choose not to deal with it. And one of the premises to my movie is not just about the incarceration system and how bad it is, because we all know that. It's about, thinking thoughts, utilizing the light of your awareness to get through hard times, and I kind of laid out, if you listen to what I was saying, I laid out this process to mentally help you get through all hard times through being real about what you're going through, acceptance, but not, accepting what I'm going through in this moment doesn't mean that I'm not going to actively try to change what I'm going through. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So, but I wasn't practicing any of those things that I was talking about in the movie, and I recognized it at some point, like, fuck. No, you got to sit and deal with this thing and deal with what you're feeling, put it into the light of awareness, share what you're feeling with other people. So it was an awesome process to relive the very thing that I was talking about in the movie, right?
Yeah.
And
that process.
Yeah, for sure. So it was just super cool for me. I find myself I found myself going through that same process again with the Impact campaign. Like having to plan shit and do stuff. I found myself exhibiting some of the same indicators that I'm suppressing some kind of deep-rooted fear or anxiety because I didn't want to deal with anything. I know that I should be making a video right now to promote my movie, but it's and I recognize that came from an attachment to outcomes, an unhealthy attachment to a preset outcome instead of just enjoying the process. Yeah. And it's a total win when I'm present. I'm just enjoying the whole process. And that's some of the things that I learned or was highlighted to me throughout the actual fellowship process itself. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the deep rooted value that I got from it, some of the like wisdom that I could share with any and everybody, even if they didn't experience this specific process, I could still tell them like, hey, this is a thing. This is a thing that happens in life. You know what I'm saying? Be aware of it. These are some indicators that may show up whenever you're dealing with something, and you know, this was a total positive thing, and it still produced some kind of trauma inside of me or some kind of negative reaction to it.
That's amazing.
And,
I mean, it's awesome that they were there for you too, and kind of
facts.
Miss Katrina, awesome. Miss Katrina is awesome.
Unreal.
Can I just say real quick? Sure. During this whole year, Julius and I like supported each other in a lot of ways, but we never actually talked about what our films were about.
Cool. Okay.
We may have touched on it. We may have been in a group where we talked about what we're doing, but like we never like really talked about the finite details of what the end product would look like. And come to find out, like there's so many similarities with the cause, and I don't want to give away too much because I know that you have a question coming up about our films, but our films really are companion pieces to each other, you know, with mine being don't arrest so many people, and his being, okay, you're here, here's how we deal with it. I really am happy with like how they complement one another.
Okay, so well, let's get into the movies themselves. So I thought what might be a cool way to do it is maybe I'll start with Julius. I will ask you, what is Leigh's movie about? I will ask you, and then Leigh, you can clean that up, and then tell me sort of what is the film about? What's the story? What are you trying to say with it? But yeah, go ahead. Do your best. Okay,
to me, Leigh's movie is about alternative responses to mental health crisis, and I think I know that it's needed. It's a needed perspective, right? Because recently, I saw an article in the newspaper about a guy who was having a mental health episode. Literally, somebody called the police and said, hey, I think this guy is having a mental health breakdown out here. She didn't say he was committing a crime. She didn't say he was being violent. She didn't say she was scared. She said, this guy is having a mental health breakdown right now, right? They sent uniformed police officers to respond to it, and they responded to the situation as if they were coming to a crime, and they came there pre-threatened, right? And it lays out the way the whole thing played out, right? And I can recall sitting there reading it, thinking like, damn, this is what Leigh's film is about. It's about, in situations like this and many others, having like, you know, a trauma-informed person come out and respond to these situations to help end criminalizing mental health. You know, so to me, in a nutshell, I know that Leigh's gonna unpack it more. I know that it's needed, right? And also, I was at this graduation recently, right, for like these programs they're doing inside of these communities that have violence and stuff. The police was there inside of the room. It was a room full of people, community members, me, and there was a lot of people in the room supporting the neighborhood community members who had gone through the program and become peace builders. So I can recall one of the police officers getting up saying like, yeah, we have a alternative responders program, right? And she was like, yeah, our guy's right here in the room. And I turned around like, where you at? It's like a bunch of police back here. It was one of the guys sitting here, but this whole time, even though he wasn't in uniform, he looked like a police officer. And I thought to myself, if I was out in the neighborhood, I done been up fucking 5 days smoking Molly. The whole reason I was smoking Molly is because my mom just died, this happened. So there's other stuff besides just the drugs. The drugs is just a symptom of the deeper root of stuff. And I'm out here, I'm just fucking gooped out my mind, just fucking depressed. And they send this guy out here, and I look at this motherfucker, this white dude with this fucking piercing blue eyes and this fucking like buzz cut. I'm be like, get the fuck out of my face. Motherfucker, you the police, and I'm gonna run. You know what I'm saying? I would not be like, thank you for,
you don't like
no,
that?
no. I would have much rather seen Leigh, or much rather seen, you know, me, or seen Chris Perry or somebody like that. I hope that explained it, but to me, I really see the practical value in what Leigh's movie is about in the real world, and I didn't before. Before this, I never even thought about it. Before this, I never even when I heard it without seeing it, right, and without having experiences, I I still didn't see the value in it at first, but just because of Leigh's actually choosing this pathway, it made me consider it and think about it, and now I have that lens to see the value in the world.
That's awesome.
So that's super cool.
Okay, Leigh, in your words, if there are others.
Yeah, I love that explanation. I can't do much better than that. It is my story at heart, my interactions with the police, my prison sentence, and then how we can untangle ourselves from that. And Julius hit on kind of a next level thought, which is we don't think about our police interactions when it comes to mental health, substance use, and homelessness. We automatically think that that's what you're supposed to do. That's who you're supposed to call. And even when they tell us that this is our next best thing, which is a co-responder, this is a police officer with a mental health professional who's also oftentimes in like a flak jacket, and it just says mental health therapist on their flak jacket. We still think, yeah, I mean, it's just an afterthought. We just are so conditioned to think that we need someone with a gun because there is danger, fear. We did a ton of research for this. Not only do I have my personal experience, but I also have my professional experience in working in these communities. I've never one time thought, this person's escalated. They've been up for 5 days. I wish I had pepper spray right now. I wish I could handcuff this person right now. I've never thought that. And so I know it can be done. There's communities around the country that have done it. Here locally, we have taken some really good steps with our paramedicine programs, our mobile crisis unit, but still are missing that piece of allowing them to be first on the scene, directly dispatched from 911. And the answer over the last few years is let's just add more co-responders, which is a cop with a mental health professional. And I'm not saying that that's not needed in some situations. I think it falls on the harm reduction spectrum, and I'm sure that they have done good work, but their bar is, did I have to Baker Act you? No. Did I have to take you to jail? No. Well, then that's a win. And I think we can do much better than that. And so that's the focus of my film.
Do you want to say anything about like the film itself? Like what is what happens in the film? What is it?
Yeah, it's just me yakking away, dude.
Fuck,
that's it.
nightmare.
It's just me talking for a long time. No. Yeah, it takes you through my thought process before I was arrested, briefly through what my actual arrest was like, my prison experience. But then the movie kind of pivots over to talking to people who either do this work or have had these experiences. Julius, Shelley, my wife, we interview her out in the garden. And I think my wife is a really good example of if she can do it, we can definitely do it. Because here's a little 5'2" person who's been doing this work for years, who, again, I know for a fact she's been in some quote unquote dangerous situations and has never needed, not one time, to call the police. And so I really wanted to highlight the work that she does.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really excited for people to see this. So, all right, well, throw it over to you. Could you describe Julius's movie?
Yeah, motherfucker.
Yeah.
What you got to say?
Yeah. Well, like with everything Julius does, there's multiple layers to it. It's not just one thing. And I was a little nervous for him because, when you start this process, they tell you you can write your script about your story. You have to keep it about your own personal narrative, but it needs to fit into these 3 or 4 advocacy buckets: reentry, youth justice, LGBTQ justice, or alternatives to incarceration. And Julius really didn't pick any of those buckets. And he didn't have one policy cause. It was kind of ambiguous. It was just his thing. He was like, no, fuck that. I'm making my fucking movie. Right. And I was a little worried because I was like, okay, when you do that, you really are shooting your shot. You're really saying, no, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to do my own thing anyway. And that is either going to be really good, right, or you're going to fall flat on your face, right? Sure. And it is so fucking good. He is annoyingly good at everything he does. Yeah, Julius's movie is about, I love that he could have picked the big impactful experience with the carceral system. No, he picked the county jail tiny stint that he did, because nobody ever talks about that. No one ever talks about the fact that 30 to 60 days in the jail can ruin your life. You can lose your job, your apartment, your kids can get taken away. Now you're on child support. No one ever talks about our county jails in the spectrum of prison reform, We talk about federal prison reform. That's the last sweeping change we had in this country, was federal prison reform. That doesn't affect state prisons. It definitely doesn't affect jails. So I love that he highlighted this tiny stint that he did. But then he highlighted this community that he created while he was inside, and really the antidote to everything. Think of a problem you care about right now. Community is the answer to it. I think with the state of the world right now, the only way we're going to get through is not by fighting the system. I mean, we have to fight the system. We have to vote. We have to, right, all that. We also have to start worrying about creating parallel systems. We have to pretend that we never win another election. We never get another grant. Okay, how do we survive? And this movie talks about that. It talks about, okay, shit's fucked up. Guess what? I'm in jail. I still created a community. If we can do it in here, we can do it out there. And so it was like a movie inside of a movie. And I had the pleasure of being in the movie for a day. And even inside the filming process itself, he had created community. So like on the day of, it wasn't like we were just acting. He had us all exercising together, and in between scenes, he's like saying motivational stuff to us. I was like, he's created a community inside of this. So the whole thing was like Andy Kaufman, social experiment disguised as a movie. So that's my film review.
That was fucking great. That was fucking great. It was like what you just described about my movie. To me, it's like a definitive truth. Like 2 + 2 is 4. You can't add nothing to it or take nothing from it and make it more true. It just is what it is. So yeah, I really feel that way about my film. That's pretty much what it's about. And like you said, there's so many different layers to it. I was going back watching it and just listening to what I was saying, and still learning and growing from what I was saying then, like applying, like seeing how I'm not applying those principles now. I speak about the ideals of, I speak about the antidote to what we're all facing, because the carceral system is always going to be the carceral system. Systems are going to be systems. A way to change the system, the way that we've been trying to change the system isn't the best way. A way to change the system at all, actually, right? The way to change the system is creating our own system. And then the system will see what we're doing and mimic it. You see what I'm saying? When you think about the Black Panthers and the free breakfast programs and the women, infant, and children programs, all the free healthcare programs, how they attack the Black Panthers first, dismantle all of them doing it, and then started doing it themselves. And like, yeah, we do it now.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So I think that and the system has this funny way of just eating up the energy of years of organizing, years of mobilizing. They have a way of just stifling all of this human effort. But I think whenever we invest in ourselves, invest in our own systems, that's the best way to recycle our energy, to recycle our vision and power, and to stay grounded and to stay energized ourselves, is to invest in each other. Yeah, I just want to get that idea out here in the world. You said I didn't want to fit this once-in-a-lifetime moment into one of these small boxes. Nah, we gotta open up our thinking a little bit. So yeah.
And both of us actually did our topics outside of the box. Like mine wasn't alternatives to incarceration. Mine was, we don't incarcerate someone altogether. It wasn't a diversion program.
So. I'll say I've seen both of these films already. They're fucking awesome. I'm really excited for them to be out there in the world and other people's. So you're going to show it in Los Angeles next week, kind of dating this. And then you're going to show it here in Gainesville. What do you hope those audiences walk away with after seeing your...
I hope they walk away with a lot of questions, because a lot of people may pull up to the event feeling like they have the answers already, but I want to shake up the foundation of what we perceive as regular, normal, possible, and I want them to actually look at me and Leigh for the leaders that we are, and seek the work in collaboration, because and just grow. I personally want to be recognized for the leader that I am, because I want and I hope to grow my span of control, the amount of people that I can effectively manage, because I can't do it by myself. And I know that I can go fast if I go alone and I go just for me. But I can go further if I go together in community. And I really want to just inspire people. Sometimes you can tell people like, yeah, this is a good thing to do. You'll benefit so much from it. Here's all the stats, here's all the research. But they'll be like, yeah, okay, well, okay. When they'll just go do their own thing still. But then when they see you do it, though, and they see you winning, and they see you actually winning and succeeding and shit, then people will come on. So I'm hoping that People viewing this movie, seeing me on the big screen, they'll want to know, how the fuck did you do that? Like, how? Okay, I remember you, dude. I remember you from the articles and shit. I could tell that you got a fucking past. Look at you. You like you fucking rapper or something. How the fuck are you being so positive? How you doing that? And I want them to believe that I know the answer, right? And the answer that I'm going to tell them is going to be fucking liberating. You see what I'm saying? Something that they can manage, and if they receive it, it's something that can't be taken from you. You can have it, possess it, and utilize it no matter where your body sits. You know what I'm saying? As long as you're alive, as long as you're still in your right state of mind, you can have these tools and you can be powerful. Like, not just like kind of powerful, but really powerful wherever you're at. Even if you have no money, even if you have nothing, you see what I'm saying? You can still be a powerful person that contributes to yourself, to other people. So yeah, so that's my highest hope with what people may receive from this film. I pray that it makes them look at whatever they believe to be true differently, and just have room for new assumptions or new answers. And I pray that they look at me as the person who may have an answer to some of that shit and be willing to trust whatever my answer is. And I'm going to tell them something very powerful, very helpful. Yeah. So
Leigh,
yeah, that's it.
What do you hope audiences walk away from after seeing your movie?
Chicks, man. I'm just doing this for chicks.
Hell yeah.
So
That's what I'm talking about.
as Julius was talking, I was like, what's the dumbest thing I can say here?
You found it.
Yeah. So, no, I really hope that people in the audience feel uncomfortable about their level of readiness to call the police for every single thing. You don't call a plumber when your house is on fire. You call the firefighters. Why are we calling the police for mental health, homelessness, substance use? And I hope they start to explore the alternatives in their community. I hope they're motivated to not do nothing. I think all too often, not only do we call the cops way too much, the next thing that we do is fucking nothing. You know, we drive by homelessness. We drive by people talking to themselves, people on drugs. We know people in our families, our friends, and we don't do anything for a lot of reasons. It's painful. It's uncomfortable. We have our own fucking problems. And so I think I would want someone to watch this and think, I'm going to go explore the paramedicine programs and the mobile crisis units in my community. I'm going to advocate to policymakers to expand those and to add them if they don't exist. And I hope the policymakers here that see it go, you know what, I'm going to rethink how I've been doing this. And here locally, when we show this film, it's going to be hard because I'm saying some really difficult things that challenge the status quo here. And I think there's people that I care about that are leaders in our community, and I think they think they're doing the right thing. I think they think the co-responders have been the answer, and I want to be clear, my film is not an anti-co-responder movie. My film is saying, great first step, here's what we actually can do. And so I hope our leaders say, oh, you know what, I'm actually not on the ground with people who are suffering. I'm not seeing the problems in real time. I didn't know that co-responders, it doesn't work in the Black community. I didn't know that less than 4% of psychologists nationwide are Black. I didn't know that you're 50% more likely to get mental health care in an emergency room or a jail if you're Black. I didn't know these things. And so let's think about not a one-size-fits-all approach, but alternatives to what we're doing.
Julius, do you think, or do you foresee using storytelling, filmmaking, any of these things moving forward?
Facts. Yeah, for sure. You know, and I was thinking about that whole storytelling thing. I think Leigh was saying something earlier, how he looked at storytelling as, I think, the lowest hanging fruit as it pertains to just change making. And I think that storytelling is like one of the most powerful tools, and it's so old. Storytelling is such an old art to human people. You know, like we think about like fucking cave drawings and shit. That was a story about what happened today. Like, yeah, I walked outside looking for some shit in a fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex or some shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so you know, stories have existed as long as humans have existed, and it has been a way to like, you know, pass on history before we had, you know, digital record keeping and stuff. You know, you had scribes that lived inside of old communities, that scribes that just sat and wrote down all the significant events to a culture. Just so storytelling is super, super important. I'll always be telling a story in one way or another. You know, whether it be in the way that I just show up in the world, that tells a story to everybody that's silently watching me. Yeah, I always use storytelling as a tool now. I always have actually, but digital storytelling, making films, right? I have a new respect for it. I really understand like the power in filmmaking and just artistic expression through making film and I got different respect for actors too, right? And I look at like films and shit differently now. If it's not like a real thing, like a actual interview or a podcast or something, anything that's acting involved that I watch on TV, I look at it differently now. Like I was watching kind of like a horror movie last night with my spouse, and I was thinking to myself, like, damn, this bitch not even scared for real. They was like action, and she was just like, I was like, damn. So it wasn't even the best.
Good acting, right?
It wasn't even the best top tier acting, but it added new value to even what she was doing. Like that's fucking cool that you can fucking sit there and you know what I'm saying, like this motherfucker not even really upset for real. He just acted mad. Yeah. It's a whole a writer side and wrote this shit, and they actually wrote all of these like the whole scene now, how it's like close on this motherfucker's face now, and the next shot is like a wide shot where you get the whole room. All of that stuff, like every little thing that you see in the film, from actors actually acting, the clothes, all of that stuff was, you know, intentionally put there. Yeah. And I just have a new respect for the art form of filmmaking now.
What is your favorite movie?
Oh, okay, that's easy as fuck, dude. Okay. My favorite movie right now is Uncarcerated. And then my second favorite movie would have to be The Silent Revolution. Damn. Freedom from the Inside Out, motherfucker. Thanks for asking. Yep. They'll be out soon.
That's amazing. Yep. Way to use it. Okay. Yeah, Leigh, do you foresee storytelling filmmaking in your future?
Yeah. I definitely have plans to do this again. And I do want to be clear. I've always seen the power in storytelling. We started this podcast because we knew the importance of it. I just didn't see it as the most effective way to make change. I thought change making came from like activism and, you know, protest and like walkouts and stuff like that. And now I see the connection there for that. Yeah, I definitely, I talked to our creative producer Saladin about it extensively before he left, that I would love to work with him again. Jake for sure. My editor Zach, who's amazing. He's done stuff for Community Spring before. Awesome. So I really tried to like make those relationships, and I definitely see doing this again, and I've been working on scripts, and I would really like to make this a full length as well. So yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
Cool Hand Luke.
Fucking hell yeah. My man. Okay. Guys, before we land the plane here, anything else you want to say about your experience, your movies, anything else? Leigh, anything
I
else?
just want people to know that they can go to our landing pages coming up soon, representjustice.org/uncarcerated, representjustice.org/silent revolution, and we'll have a whole page where our film will live, statistics, the cause will live there. You can go to uncarcerated.org. Same thing. We'll have information there about both our films and how to get involved. And then I hope if you're listening to this show locally that you come see us September 17th. Yeah. And see the films for yourself.
Hell yeah.
Big facts. You know, I was going to say that, but I was like, nah, I'm going to just at least say it.
Okay. So. Hell yeah. Nice. Well, all right, guys, thank you both for sitting on the other side of the mic today. It is definitely not lost on me that we have two people from this community about to take stage in Los Angeles next week and promote your films. Really fucking amazing. It's really not a small thing. Congratulations to both of you. Very proud of you. I mean that. You're amazing. Not to like put this too much in like time, but it's 2026 next week in Los Angeles at the Directors Guild on July 23rd. Directors Guild Theater in Los Angeles. If you happen to be out there, come support these folks. And then if you're in Gainesville, September 17th at Heartwood Soundstage. We're going to be bringing this home over there. You can go to representjustice.org for information about all the work happening there. And you can go to uncarcerated.org, where you can check out all the things that we have happening here. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us, like us, subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcast. Share this episode with somebody that needs to hear it. That's a wrap, motherfucker.
You're a pro, dude. You're a pro.
They told me not to smoke drugs, but I wouldn't listen. Never thought I'd get caught and wind up in prison. Chalk it up to youth, but young age I ain't dissing. I guess I just had to get it out of my system, out of my system. sister.